Daddy, help me. Steve, where are you?
Hello, and welcome to episode 31 of Voices in the Static, a Silent Hill fan podcast. My name is Whitney, and I am a longtime fan of Konami's survival horror series and the owner of the fan site SilentHillHistoricalSociety.com. Today's episode is a continuation of my retrospective on the Silent Hill games with an in-depth discussion with my friends on a game that was not only a proper sequel to the original, but also field theories on what those monsters in town truly were for years. They look like monsters to you? That's right, I'm talking about Silent Hill 3. Oh man, what a game. There's much to discuss. So why don't you all introduce yourselves?
Hello, I'm CJ. I write with ReliantHorror.com. You've heard me on this show before.
And I'm William. I'm also a contributor to Reliant Horror and also the creator of Screaming Ray Productions.
And I'm Amy, and I run alchemillahospital.net.
All right, so before we jump into our thoughts, memories, theories about Silent Hill 3, I'm going to go through the game's plot and development. If you guys have anything to add, please jump in at any time.
Hey, wait, what's going on? Where is everybody? Those weird monsters?
They've come to witness the beginning. The rebirth of paradise, despoiled by mankind.
What are you talking about?
Sins will be judged and punishment exacted. We pray for your forgiveness. You who lead us to eternity.
In Silent Hill 3, players take control of a street-smart teenager named Heather, who for the most of the game is, well, just trying to get back home after a trip to the mall. While attempting to leave the Central Square shopping center, Heather is approached by Douglas Cartland, a private detective who wants her to meet his client who he claims has important information regarding her birth. Being the smart girl that she is, Heather declines the introduction and gives Douglas a slip by a window in the ladies' room.
Are you still following me? Do I have to scream?
Sorry. I'll wait here.
Unfortunately, a nosy detective becomes the least of her worries, as she finds herself in a fight for her life against the grotesque and dangerous creatures and experiences head-splitting shifts into a hellish otherworld versions of her surroundings. Heather soon meets Douglas's client, Claudia Wolf, a strange and cryptic woman who's apparently isn't fond of shoes or eyebrows for that matter. She claims Heather will lead them to paradise with bloodstained hands and urges the teen to remember her true self as well. It's a bizarre meeting to say the least. Even after escaping the mall, after taking down a pretty hefty phallic symbol, Heather finds she still must contend with blocked paths and twisted environments populated with more and more creatures on her route home. During a forced detour through an office building, Heather meets Vincent, an associate of Claudia's who says he knows all about Heather's past, while assuring her he is on her side. Heather doesn't trust him though, as there's clearly something off about him too. Not only does he find the twisted otherworld they find themselves in fascinating, he also made the mistake of talking shit about her dad. Just don't do that.
I guess he hid the truth to keep you on his side, eh? That figures. He's a pretty sneaky guy.
Don't talk about my dad like that!
Sorry. I apologize. Please.
Upon reaching home, Heather's relief quickly turns to horror when she discovers her beloved father has been murdered while sitting in his recliner. After following a blood trail up to the roof of the apartment complex, Heather finds Claudia waiting for her. The strange lady says she merely gave the order to kill in revenge for Heather's father taking her away from them 17 years previously. She tells Heather she will birth a god and build an eternal paradise before leaving, saying that she will wait for Heather in Silent Hill. After killing Claudia's henchman that was responsible for the actual murder, Heather finds Douglas waiting for her in the apartment. He feels extremely guilty for leading Claudia to Heather in the first place, and as an amends offers to drive her to town. It's during this car ride that Heather's past is revealed through a notebook her father was holding. 17 years ago, a woman named Dahlia Gillespie tried to summon a god and offer her own daughter, Alessa, to do it, and that god was killed by Heather's father, Harry Mason. That's right, Heather is the baby Harry received from Alessa in the good endings of Silent Hill 1, and now Claudia is determined to finish what Dahlia attempted all those years ago. Upon reaching Silent Hill, Heather and Douglas split up to search for Leonard, a man Vincent told Douglas to seek once in town. Leonard is in fact Claudia's abusive father, a very devout man of the order, and is currently committed to Brookhaven Mental Hospital. After dealing with a ghostly stalker and horrible Facebook birthday greetings,
Happy birthday to you!
But you're wrong. It's not my birthday.
Heather ends up killing Leonard in self-defense and takes a mysterious seal that was in his possession as well.
So, you tried to trick me so you can run off with my seal, eh? Heretic! You plan to destroy God!
I told you I wasn't trying to trick anyone. What is this seal thing anyway?
Don't play innocent. You can't fool me anymore. The seal is mine! I was appointed by God to be its guardian!
Heather is then directed to head to the church across the lake by Vincent, who claims it was a message left by Douglas, which is BS, but Heather is eager for Claudia's head, so she goes. Cutting through Lakeside Amusement Park, Heather reunites with Douglas, who's suffering from a broken leg after a confrontation with Claudia. I don't know if I really want to mess with her, but Heather leaves him to rest and continues on her own, and confronts the shadow of her former self, who would rather Heather die than risk the god within her from being born. Unfortunately, they don't hug it out like in the game like they did in the movie. It's kind of a little bit more bloody.
Do you think I won't destroy you? How can you? I am you. Trying to take back what I gave you.
After surviving the encounter, Heather finds herself at the entrance of the Order's church. Inside, Heather experiences echoes of her past life as Alessa, learns more about the Order, and Vincent and Claudia's motivations. While Claudia wants to birth the god to bring forth paradise, Vincent, even though he's the priest within the Order, is more interested in making money through the church. God's birth would be an inconvenience to those plans. Things come to a head within the inner chapel, while Claudia stabs Vincent in the back after he tells Heather,
Heather, go ahead and kill this crazy bitch. This demon who claims to speak for God. The time has come. You can kill her now.
You go to hell!
Not very smart move. I mean, you don't turn your back on crazy, am I right? He tells Heather to use the seal she picked up from Claudia's father, but it does absolutely nothing, meaning the side trek to Brookhaven was just game filler. Fun. Claudia proceeds to kill Vincent by stabbing him through the heart. With God's birth approaching, Heather swallows an Aglaophotis capsule hidden within the pendant Harry gave her years ago, and vomits up God. Before she can squash it under her foot, Claudia pushes her aside, picks up the god, and swallows it whole to be its new vessel.
Lessa, you cannot kill God. I will burn God. If you can't do it, Lessa, I will.
Gross and weird, and also confusing since the stomach is not a uterus, but whatever. After falling through a hole in the floor, God is born, Claudia is very dead, and Heather is forced to take it out just like her father did all those years before. After the battle, Heather returns to Douglas, pretends to want to kill him as a joke, decides to go by her original name Cheryl from now on, and
You gonna let your hair color go back too?
I don't know. Don't you think blondes have more fun?
And that's pretty much it. Did I miss anything important, guys?
Nope. Eating the fetus, you got it all.
Yeah, that's really what you have to take from this is there's fetus eating. Yeah, it's pretty wild story. We got a direct sequel to Silent Hill 1 here. I guess I'll go into the actual development discussion. I don't know if you guys know any secrets about the development as well. Just feel free to jump in. Silent Hill 3 is the third installment in Konami's survival horror series, originally released on PlayStation 2 on May 23, 2003 in Europe, July 3rd in Japan, and August 5th in North America. It was later ported to PC in November 2003 in Europe, with a North American release in the following April. It's actually pretty surprising, looking back, that the game was released in Europe first, given that it was the only time, I believe, European fans got a Silent Hill game before Japan and North America. I tried to find out why, but all I could dig up was an IGN article back in February 2003, where Konami of America said that the decision was for business reasons, but they wouldn't elaborate. I'm wondering, do you guys have any idea why it was released in Europe first?
I am not sure about that one.
Yeah, it was very strange. It was weird that America got it last. We usually get the games either first or around the same time, so that was like the one time we got it pretty late. Development of the game began after Silent Hill 2's release in September 2001. And it was in development almost simultaneously with Silent Hill 4, which we're going to cover next. What's pretty fascinating is that this game didn't start as a direct sequel, according to the series' musical guru Akira Yamaoka. In a 2005 Game World interview with both Akihiro Imamura, the game's systems programmer for the original Silent Hill and the producer of Silent Hill 2, Akira revealed that, and I quote, "The scenario was completely different, but fans seemed to want to tie up some loose ends, so we tried that, even though some of the staff did not agree with that decision." Sadly, Akira and Imamura both declined to elaborate too much on what the original scenario entailed. According to Akira, it was going to be more in the vein of Silent Hill 2, where a damaged person was summoned to town for a specific reason, and this reason was, and I quote, "the darkest story we have come up with." Okay, Imamura confirmed that he was sure a lot from the scenario would have been cut anyway, as there was elements just in their preliminary scenario worked out that definitely would not have been approved by the rating boards. He also added in the interview that they weren't too keen on repeating the template of Silent Hill 2 with the game that followed, but
I think Jay Blau commented on that too, something about, people complained about Silent Hill 2. I mean, that it was too psychological, so then they were trying to go back to.
Yeah. But they almost went way too far in a different direction, at least in my opinion. I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you guys probably saw this, but back in February this year, Masahiro Ito restated on Twitter that Silent Hill 3 was not supposed to be a direct sequel to Silent Hill 1, and that it was actually supposed to be this arcade spin-off rail shooter. He called it a terrible plan and was glad it was canceled, which I agree. But he also said that this scrapped idea had unfortunately wasted time and budget for Silent Hill 3. And since sales for Silent Hill 2 weren't that great, which I know is kind of surprising given how everyone feels about it now, I can kind of see why the team took what could be seen as a safer gamble and give the fans what they expected in Silent Hill 2, a direct sequel to Silent Hill. But as we've learned through the years, Silent Hill fans do not know what they fucking want. It changes.
Yeah, they keep changing their mind. Silent Hill 3 came out, and then they said, why isn't like that? Why isn't 2 more like that? I think Jeremy Blaustein said the same thing. Like, they couldn't ever get it right. I think I probably would have never made a sequel to Silent Hill 1 if it were up to me. While it opened up a whole new world of possibilities, it was its own self-contained story. Yeah. Having said that, I still think Silent Hill 3 is one of the best sequels in any medium, and I actually like that they ended up halfway through revealing that it was a direct sequel.
Do you like it better than even like Resident Evil 2? And
that's a tough one.
I mean, that's like a direct sequel to 1.
Yeah, and in many ways, I don't think Silent Hill 3 is better than 1, whereas I do think Resident Evil 2 is better than the first Resident Evil, because it's 2 stories. It's kind of a bigger, larger story. I think it works better, personally.
And it also incorporated some new game mechanics as well.
Yeah, it was competing as a sequel, not just rehashing the same thing that the first one did. Whereas 3 kind of thematically evolved it, and also technically the gameplay was updated. But I liked that it wasn't the exact same thing that 2 did, because 2 was psychological, and if you just kept doing that, we would have gotten to Silent Hill 5, and they're just doing the same thing as
it's what we have now with the modern versions. People complain that they're copying the style of Silent Hill 2.
Exactly, and you could argue that, well, it's Western developers and blah blah blah. Well, okay, say that the Japanese team kept going that route, and we would have gotten Downpour from a Japanese team. We don't know. And as cool as that idea that they had for the proto Silent Hill 3, I mean, that sounds like it could have worked. We'll never know, but I'm very happy with.
What's kind of interesting though is someone actually brought up those quotes from the interview to Ito, and he said, if they recall, said so, it's different from fact. In the first place, Imamura has nothing to do with Silent Hill 3. So he's kind of saying that wasn't actually the case. Like, it was always going to be this rail shooter, and he was like part of the core team in the discussions. So it's like, we don't really know what the real plan was. Like, I don't understand why they would say this in an interview if that wasn't part of it. It's maybe there's a language barrier thing going on here.
And these are years later. They're being asked these questions, right? Like 20 years after.
Well, the interview where they talked about this was just 2 years after the game released. So it'd be pretty still fresh in their mind.
Right, but again, that could be a translation issue, like you're saying,
I mean, but Ito's right. Imamura he worked on Silent Hill 4. He wasn't really part of the Silent Hill 3 team, so it's kind of confusing that he would talk about it, but since they were working on both games at the same time, I could see how they would kind of know each other's business. I don't know. Gameplay-wise, Silent Hill 3 did introduce some new mechanics. I think we talked a little bit about it. For instance, now you can fall down holes and die, except while playing on easy, which I did a lot on accident when replaying this game recently. It was very frustrating, actually. Also, Heather can be knocked to the ground, and players are going to be forced to button mash and wiggle the analog stick to get her back up faster. And this happens so much when you're fighting slurpers. I hate those enemies so fucking much.
I also think of Harry with those, what are they called, rompers?
Exactly. Yeah, it's just like that. But like, now Heather just stays on the ground and contemplates the state of her life. It's pretty funny. What's also interesting is Heather's arsenal in the game. I mean, you could pick up a submachine gun. It's definitely overpowered at times, which I guess you could argue takes away from the survival horror aspect, but given how relentless the enemies can be, I didn't really feel that way while playing. What did you guys feel about the arsenal, which is Silent Hill 3? It seemed like she got a lot of powerful weapons. Did you feel it took away from the gameplay or not?
I think besides the submachine gun, I guess there's maybe the sexy beam, if you would count that, like later on after you beat the game.
That's a special weapon, though.
Yeah, that's like a secret weapon. Yeah. Other than the machine gun, I mean, you have a handgun, you have some melee stuff. You're really not that overpowered.
I mean, I did find the maul kind of weird. A weird weapon to pick up.
Yeah. I think something
like the great knife, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
In the slowness.
Oh, yes, definitely the slowness.
Yeah.
That thing is really slow. It's powerful, though, but very, very slow. What's kind of funny is you have to equip that weapon and wear her special... why am I losing the name of the costume? The
sexy princess, what was it?
Heather, shit.
Heart something?
Heart.
Princess Heart. Oh my god, I was having a major brain fart here. But in the Hilltop Center, if you go into the cafe and you have the mall and then have her in her Princess Heart costume, there's this weird little Easter egg. I don't know if it's Easter egg, but the insane cancer will start speaking in Japanese, and so will Heather, and it's just very odd and off-putting. It's like, what the hell happened in this room? Did you guys ever get that?
I think I heard about it. I never actually played it.
Watched it on YouTube. Does that count?
Yes, it does. So you know what I'm talking about.
Well, I think something like Resident Evil 3, where you have like tons of like machine guns and everything, that was a little overpowered. But even in that game, like you said with this one, they're throwing a lot of stuff at you. Mm-hmm. So I actually like the machine gun because you don't get a ton of ammo for it, but it is.
Yeah, I ran out.
Nice. It's this insane burst. So it makes a big impact, and it doesn't really overuse it. So once you're out, you kind of have to scrounge for ammo after that.
You know which weapon I really liked using recently in my stream playthrough is I had unlocked the Flamethrower, and so I was using that gun finally, and I never really used it before. And I found that using the Flamethrower, you can stun lock a lot of enemies, so you can kill them pretty fast. I used them on like the Slurpers and the insane cancer. It made my playthrough a lot easier than it usually is because those enemies can take a lot of hits just on normal. I wasn't even playing on hard because we all know how I do on hard mode in Silent Hill games. I'm pretty terrible. So I did appreciate the special weapons in this game. I also thought it was kind of fun. I didn't think it was too odd, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I felt it kind of balanced it out with the amount of enemies, their strength, and what you had to work with.
There's also Resident Evil was you're like trained, like
yeah, you're
when
not
people
you're
are
actual
charged.
cop.
You're not like a regular 17-year-old girl or something.
You're not a teenage girl. Overall, the game got pretty positive reviews. It usually scored within like the 72 to 86 percentile in terms of review scores. People really loved the environments, which were actually pretty terrifying with the moving walls or textures that moved on the walls were really
In the
creepy.
chapel, that's great.
Though it does slow down your computer. Oh my goodness. When I was streaming it, I was in Brookhaven, and this is the section where like the walls and the floors are all moving, and I'm just in this one little part of Brookhaven with this is after you get the happy birthday message on the telephone in the locker, and you get like a little message outside, happy birthday Heather, outside of her room. I think that has some goodies you can pick up. In this one particular hallway, I was emulating it, and everything slowed down to like 10 frames a second. Like, I have a really powerful computer, and the game just was chugging along. I could not believe it. It happened to me in my last stream and when I was streaming last year for my charity. I don't remember this happening on the actual PlayStation 2, though. So I don't know if it's an emulated problem or what.
I remember it on console, which I played recently. That's how I can say.
I also really liked how this game kind of had little individual scare rooms, like to give you like a startle. For example, the mannequin in the Hilltop Center with the scream and the head falls off and the blood.
That one got me.
Mirror room.
Yes, and mirror room was the next one. That one was really creepy.
Which one?
The mirror room in Brookhaven.
Oh yeah. Mirror.
Yeah. I think that was kind of unique about this game in particular. I didn't feel. I mean, Silent Hill 1 did have like rooms that would make different sounds, like glass breaking or weird moanings or whatever, but it didn't have jump. I guess you can consider them kind of like little jump scares. But
there was that second floor of the school. The body comes out.
Oh,
yeah, the locker.
True.
Had a couple.
But Silent Hill 3, I felt had more of that. Like just kind of, it made I think better use of the environments to provide a scare. Another one I really got me was, I mean, I don't think it was meant to be scary, but when you got to the top of Hilltop Center and you got into this room and it's all dark, but you see this lit cigarette just on the table, like someone was there, and I believe you heard footsteps as well. It's little things like that kind of put you on edge, like, hey, like, who was that? Was that maybe Vincent? Was that, I don't know, Claudia? I mean, I could see Vincent smoking.
It's detailed.
Yeah, it's really cool, and I really enjoyed Akira's sound work, replaying it recently, because at times I actually jumped because it sounded like someone was moving around my house. I was playing with headphones, and it was in the construction site where you go into the bathroom and you can hear someone kind of stomping around or knocking on the wall. And then when you go around the corner and you use your pipe, you can get the silencer from the body in the wall. I could have sworn someone was in my garage. I like jumped. So I thought Akira really turned his sound work up like a notch there. And I also couldn't really believe how gorgeous the game is still, even by today's
yeah.
standards. Looking at the character models, just how detailed they are. Like the pores, the freckles,
If you put Heather compared to Murphy from like today, it is depressing how bad Murphy
I
looks
know.
compared.
I even wrote here. It's like just putting them side by side to some of the more modern Silent Hill entries.
Yeah.
It's just like wow.
Windows, like remember the one window texture in Downpour?
Oh my god, I hated that.
And I'm wondering if that had more to do with how confined Silent Hill 3 was compared to maybe the other games. Because most of the game, you're in like a small little area. There's not a lot of exploring. It's very linear. So like when you're in a level, you're just really in that level. The only time you really get to kind of go off the beaten path is when you arrive in Silent Hill. And even then, it's still very confined on where you can go. Of course, you don't really want to explore a lot because I don't know if this kind of annoyed you guys as well, but when you're in Silent Hill, the fog is extremely thick. You can't even see through it most of the time.
It's hard to even see the monsters coming.
Yeah, it's very also bright. It kind of hurts your eyes, and I'm not sure. Maybe that was a problem I was having with emulating the game, but I seem to remember that same kind of complaint when I was playing on my console. So I was just kind of wondering if that was just me. If you guys...
It was like very bright and very white. Yes.
Like Silent Hill 2 was very opaque, and like you saw the tendrils of fog moving around James, and in this one it was kind of like the HD collection of Silent Hill 2, where it's like a wall of fog. Though it was still better than the HD collection fog. I'll say that much.
I do remember there being a lot of it in 3, especially when you're running through the town. I don't remember it being particularly bright, though.
It just was very white. It
could be our settings or something.
Yeah, it could be my settings on my emulator. Most of the negative responses that I've seen tend to be kind of that either you need to know Silent Hill 1's story to really appreciate like the big reveals, and then the usual control complaints with the camera, and the length of the game since it can be completed in a couple hours. But really, this is kind of the norm for Silent Hill, so I don't really see that as a valid complaint. You kind of know what you're getting into when you play these games. It's going to be maybe at most 8 hours. I don't know. Did you guys have a problem with the length? Did you feel that it was too short?
No, I don't. I think I noticed that it was shorter, but I didn't really feel bothered. I felt like it had a good enough amount of content and story made sense to be that long.
I did watch the making of Silent Hill 3 recently, and I thought maybe I could go over some of the little neat tidbits from there. If you guys know any, feel free again to jump in. Heather's design. They started off with more innocent looking designs, like kind of schoolgirl with like straight long hair, little hair ribbon, but it was like deemed a bit too nice. So the supervising illustrator, Shingo Iori, looked elsewhere for inspiration, went through like Charlotte Gainsborough, Sophie Marcar. I don't know if I'm saying that right. They're both actress and a singer. I don't know if you guys are familiar.
I believe it's Sophie Marceau.
Marceau, thank you. I knew I was saying it wrong. Sophie Marceau, thank you. And you can really see it when you compare the concept sketches with the actresses. It's like their eyes are kind of squinty, a little squinty. They look a little bit more sharp angles to their face too, less round.
On topic of Heather, though, I really like how they give her the red under the eyes, like she hasn't been sleeping.
Yeah,
like
I
all
like
the
that
details
too.
there.
I also kind of really liked how you can see her roots of her hair too. Like she can't be bothered to re-bleach her hair. I thought that was a kind of a neat detail as well. What's interesting though that I learned from watching the making of is that all the illustrators kind of clashed a bit with what Heather would wear. Yuri saw Heather wearing jeans, but the female members of the team heavily disagreed. There was actually, with this game in particular, there was actually a lot of female members to the staff, which is pretty cool. They thought Heather would show her legs. It would be, quote, more feminine and look prettier. And they convinced him to put her in a skirt instead, which is kind of amusing because most people assume when looking at the game that it was a guy's decision to put her in a skirt. But when you look at Heather's design, she's not really showing a lot. I mean, she has the vest, she has like a little sleeveless turtleneck. I mean, the only really thing here is her legs, and even then, it's like a bit of her thigh and knee, and then she has boots. So not very sexy. As long as you ignore the cover to the CD soundtrack.
With no shirt.
Yeah, that's very sexualized. But in the actual game itself, she's pretty subdued.
Yeah, which is refreshing, especially when you look at some of the other games at the time. I've recently replayed Haunting Ground, and it's a game by Capcom, and it's sort of like a spiritual sequel to like the Clock Tower series, where you're a character who has to mainly run and hide from the enemies, and you get a little dog to also attack and protect you. And that game has boob physics, where you turn and her big boobs will just jiggle. And she's like forced to wear this very, very short skirt. And though the character was kidnapped and then brought to this place where she was forced to change into this outfit, which is very sexualized, at least in my opinion. So it's kind of refreshing that even though Heather is wearing a skirt, it's not supposed to be titillating. It's just more like, oh, hey, I'm a teenage girl and I want to look cute and pretty and feminine. And look at me, type of thing.
Yeah. Heather's design
like Laura Croft won boobs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Heather's design makes you take her seriously as a character and not just like like a Laura Croft or something like that. Like you actually feel like she's a real person.
Mm-hmm. And also what's kind of cool is if you don't like her outfit, you do have the option to change in one of her numerous
you have a lot of options.
Numerous alternate outfits, which is kind of interesting because the PS2 version had a whole lot of game magazine ones that they had to remove when the PC port came out. Apparently there was also another debate about Heather's hairstyle. Like, at first, they had her hair was more natural, less elaborate, but then the women on the team were like, no, curly hair would be more fashionable and more suitable for a young girl. So again, the guy's like, okay, I'll do what you guys say. I mean, you guys would know. What's also interesting is Claudia's no eyebrow look was apparently inspired by a model on a cover of a fashion magazine. The team was they showed it in the making of, and the team were struck by how hard it was to tell what the model was thinking without the brows. So they thought it would be really interesting to do that with Claudia's character. So you wouldn't really know exactly what her deal was when you met her. It would be hard to tell.
Lost Memories also talks about it being inspired by the mother in the movie Santa Sangre.
In what movie? What movie?
The cult leader, Gray. And it's by Jodorowsky, and he was influenced some of them, but she's like a cult leader, and she's like, there's like this pool full of blood, and there's this young girl in white that comes out of it.
Oh, that's cool. Let's see, what else do I have here? Oh, Douglas's look was based off the priest in The Fifth Element, which
Ian Holm.
Once I saw it, I was like, oh, I can kind of see. They have the same sort of kind of.
I
hair.
still see Bruce Willis.
You see Bruce Willis?
I see Bruce Willis. I've always seen Bruce Willis in there.
And let's see, Vincent. They wanted to simply show his hypocrisy. So if you look closely, one of his eyes is lazy and won't focus on Heather. So it's like he's always kind of looking in another direction. Like you can't trust him. Shifty eye.
I didn't ever notice that when I was playing, but I remember reading that afterwards, and now I can't not see it. But it's very subtle though, so you kind of have to know it's there to notice it.
Yeah, I didn't notice either, but I did notice it when I recently streamed. I was like, "Oh, hey, his eye is lazy," and someone was like, "Yeah, that was on purpose." I was like, I thought that was kind of cool. Silent Hill 3, we know, is the first game with vocals. Akira knew what sort of sound he wanted the female vocalist to sound like. He wanted someone like Shirley Manson from Garbage or PJ Harvey. Mary Elizabeth McGlynn was chosen from 50 applicants, and as soon as he heard her voice, it was like, it's over. She's the one. And now we have some wonderful tracks from her throughout the rest of the series.
And this game was the one that really first started doing the rock heavy vibes, right? I always loved a couple of the ones. I played this when it came out, and it was like the summer of 2003. It was just starting summer, I think. And I remember many of those songs left a strong impression on me. Specifically, there was Lost Carol, I Want Love, and Letter from Lost Days. And I like this earlier sound of the first two where there wasn't a lot of vocals or rock stuff. But I also like this new style too.
And what's kind of also neat is that the shift from Silent Hill 2, which was more melodic, even in Silent Hill 3, he kind of brought back the industrial noises and stuff. Especially he just mixed it in with the rock, which I really thought was pretty cool when you're listening to the soundtrack. And speaking of soundtrack, what was really cool, at least as a fan, is that the game actually came with a soundtrack. I'm not sure. Did it come with a soundtrack?
This 2 did. I remember.
I think 3 does, yeah, because mine came with it.
No. I was trying to think. It was just the North American release. I know that the Japanese release came with a mini disc, but I'm not sure. Did the European release come with a soundtrack too? I don't think they did. But anyway, the soundtrack is pretty awesome. And what was kind of cool is also between the tracks, you had Mary Elizabeth McGlynn saying some of Claudia's lines from the game, or reading some of the religious texts you can find within the church, which is really cool.
They've come to witness the beginning, the rebirth of paradise despoiled by mankind. Remember me and your true self as well, also that which you must become, the one who will lead us to paradise with blood-stained hands.
Wasn't it all the astrological symbols or the different gods in the Order's religion? She had that whole kind of monologue about all that.
Yes. Let's see. Another cool little tidbit with the sound. Akira revealed that the closers, their sound is made up of rhinos with some digital effects. And that weird kind of hum, like ooh type stuff before some of the tracks.
Mm-hmm.
He was inspired by hearing voodoo music, apparently.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really all I thought was kind of interesting from the making of.
Did you know
Yes!
that?
Yes.
Oh, look at that. Yeah, those are very cool.
The closers are the mandarins from Silent Hill 2. Yes, Amy. Yeah.
Did you know that Minmo was based off a real cat?
No, I did not. Whose cat?
I don't know.
Oh.
I was joking.
Oh.
I just love Minmo because it's such a weird looking cat.
Oh, you gotta be all excited for no
I
reason.
wish there was a real fact about Minmo because I want to know more about Minmo.
Minmo is the best.
If I ever get a cat, I'd name it Minmo.
So yeah, that's kind of all I had really for development wise.
Oh, I got one. I got
okay.
one. I got a really good one. The original release, I'm not sure if it's in all territories, but the American one in particular, on the back it says Heather Morris, which is the name of the voice actress who voiced Heather. They accidentally named her, or I'm not sure if they accidentally named her that, or if they intended for the character to have that last name as well. But that wasn't cool with the actual actress, and they had to change it. So I think later copies have it changed from Heather Morris to Heather Mason, right?
Didn't Jeremy Blaustein talk to us about this? She was upset. They kind of just used her name without permission.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it.
I think the only time it was really brought up was the back of the Silent Hill 3
Yeah,
game?
William shared a picture of I don't know which one that is. That shows the ESRB logo though, so that's not the European one. Yeah, but it is on the back of the box.
Yeah.
At least for first run copies.
The summary. Does it say it in the credits? Hold on.
I don't know.
I think it just says I think it just says Heather. Yeah, it just says Heather. So I guess we're supposed to take that maybe Morris was the fake name that Harry and them were living under at the time. Oh, I just thought of something else. There was problems because in Silent Hill 3, they did take 2 voice clips. They took one.
Oh, yeah.
Harry at the top of Hilltop Center talks about the delusions of someone's nightmares or whatever. And then Lisa in Brookhaven, you hear her talking from the videotape. And they were both used without permission, and Lisa's voice actress, did she sue?
Chloe Lerner.
Yeah, did she sue Konami? She got like some sort of settlement. And these 2 voice clips are then removed from the PC version of the game. Because I got a shock when I was playing it, because it was years when I was playing it, and I just watched Destiny's stream during the Rely on Horror stuff, and she played the PC version. So I was startled when I was playing my own PS2 version when those 2 voices popped up, because I completely forgot that they were in there. Yeah, Konami, I guess, didn't learn.
And they almost put it in the HD collection.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, you remember? I was one of the notes I gave during our preview. They left that line in, being invaded by the other world.
Oh,
and we're like,
I
was like, well, I think I put it in my notes. I'm like, that's the original voice. And I forget how I learned this or where I got it from, but the dub of that, or the redub of that in the HD collection, was just a sound engineer who was working on the sound in general. He was like, I guess I'll have to do it because it's too late. Add it in now.
Well, in the PC version, it's just the text, right? Like the text still shows up, but there's no voice.
I believe so, yes.
It's being invaded by the other world, by a world of someone's nightmares, delusions come to life. I had the same reaction you did, Whitney. I was like, what? Was that Harry?
I was like, it's Harry! Oh!
And at the time, I didn't even connect it. I was like, out of context, it was hard to connect it to anything at that point in the game.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, is there a connection? So that was just a little teeny tidbit you get before the big reveal.
But you know what? It's funny is, like, there is this big reveal that, Heather is the baby from Silent Hill 1. But if you watch the game trailers, they totally spoil it because they focus so much on Alessa. It's like, gee, I wonder who this girl is that we're going to be playing if they keep showing Alessa and her photo.
I actually didn't know that was supposed to be a secret because I always went into the game. When I went into the game the first time, I was like, okay, this is the baby, or this is Cheryl, whatever you want to call her, whatever kind of standing you want to go in with. So I knew that part going in, and for me, it was always the character learning this, not necessarily that it's supposed to be a twist for me.
I thought it was, I could have sworn, I remember when the game came out, like a lot of, was it reviewers or whatnot, were kind of like surprised. But I saw the trailer and I'm like, oh my god, it's the baby.
I guess I saw the trailers. I don't really remember seeing them or having it.
They focused
kind
heavily
of spoiled
on Alessa's photo and the hospital bed. And I'm like, okay, I get it.
Well, I guess maybe you could argue that that's just referencing the first game, and Alessa was kind of the catalyst to that, how it related to the new one.
I guess.
I guess that could be up for debate. But I remember it completely blew me away. I was like, I didn't see it coming at all, so it was a complete surprise to me.
You know, it's also kind of like is that you hear Harry's voiceover in Hilltop, and then you find him dead in the apartment. It's just like,
that's it. You never, and in a way, that's kind of good because I don't know if they would have gotten the same voice actor to do it. So you didn't want to hear somebody else, or I didn't want to hear somebody else do it again. So all you get is that diary, is Harry's diary when she's reading it, and that's one of my favorite written pieces in the entire series. That's when he describes being unsure about raising the baby he was given at the end of the first game and considered killing it because he suspected it was a reincarnation of Alessa. And then Harry ultimately decides to forgive Alessa and raise and love the baby as his own.
Yeah, it just shows what an awesome dad he is.
Yeah, and I like that it details his experiences from the first game, so you kind of get a little bit of recap for maybe some of the people who weren't familiar with it. And it's essentially a final goodbye to Heather. I actually, once I asked Jeremy Blaustein if he wrote the text for it because I loved it so much. And he said he wasn't sure, but he had the feeling he let someone else translate that part while he worked mostly on the voice dialogue.
Harry is really James, the body.
Oh yes, that's another fun thing with the cam hacks that people have done. You've done it too, Amy, where you could see that they reused James's model for Harry. That's the reason why in the game you can't really see his face.
And that totally works too, because I didn't pick it up. I mean, you just slap another another color on that coat. I'm like, oh yeah, that's Harry.
I do find it kind of amusing that after all these years, Harry's still wearing his brown leather jacket.
Yeah, it's like Indiana Jones. That's how you know it's him.
Iconic.
And it's funny because that in that cam hack or those modified ones where, that double of James is sitting in a chair dead, and Harry's sitting in a very similar pose when he's dead in the third game.
What still breaks my heart, though, is Harry took out a god. He survived Silent Hill, and then he gets killed just chilling in his apartment. It's just so sad.
And that was one of the things that really gutted me, because it's the fact that he's tragically taken away. That really gutted me, and it happens off screen. It's so cold. It literally made my mouth drop open. I think Harry's death in Silent Hill 3 emphasizes the fact that even if you leave the town of Silent Hill, you can never truly escape it.
Oh, but speaking of which, this game also kind of introduced the whole, Silent Hill can still influence you outside of the confines of the town.
Yeah, it's like it's got a spreading influence like we saw in 4 and 5,
Well, I mean, it made sense for 3, considering that, Heather had the god in her, and of course, if it's waking up, it can influence the stuff around her. And I guess 4 kind of makes sense with how, I guess, ingrained Walter was in the middle of the ritual. You could see how Silent Hill's influence kind of pouring out. But yeah, it was an interesting concept at the time. I believe I remember some people being disappointed at how little we actually spent in Silent Hill.
I mean, you spend the latter half of the game, right?
But even then, it's like, you don't get to explore very much.
I think for me, at least, the build-up was worth it because you get all that stuff beforehand, and I'm playing it from the point of view of, I don't even know this is like a direct sequel yet. So I was kind of wondering why you weren't in Silent Hill right away, because they do establish that it, where Heather is at the beginning of the game is not Silent Hill.
Yeah.
So I was like, when are they going to get to Silent Hill? But I'm like, this is cool too. But when they finally do and why they do, that was so cool. And that you get to go back to the amusement park from the first game in certain areas, like the church near the end of this game. I mean, for me, it was worth it. So as opposed to always having it, you kind of won it, and then you're finally rewarded with it at the last half of the game. For me, that made it more impactful than just. It's almost like, I don't know. At that point, we had been taking the town for granted, and then it took it away a little bit, so it made us want it more.
Yeah, that's true. I feel that at least with 3, I felt there was more connection to the actual town. Like 4, less so, because we only really saw Silent Hill when you went to Wish House, the water prison, and even then it's like not really Silent Hill that we really know. It's just like these random small areas. At least with Silent Hill 3, we kind of revisited some places. Like revisiting Lakeside was really cool. I did find revisiting Brookhaven a little bit of a cop. I think it would have been cooler if it was Alchemilla, but I realized that they were probably on a budget. Like Akira had said that Akira said that they had wasted money on Ito had said they wasted money on the previous idea. They probably didn't have money to remake the actual like lakeside version of the town. But they did actually remake specific little areas that I really, really appreciated, and I didn't appreciate until I did my Let's Play for Silent Hill 1, and I could not believe at the links they went on to copy what you see there. So in Silent Hill 3, when you're in the church, you revisit some key areas from Alyssa's childhood. You see her bedroom. You see a class in Midwich. I think that's. I mean, and of course you see like the amusement park again, directly from Silent Hill 1. So when I was replaying Silent Hill 1 for my Let's Play, and I done my stream for my stream in December, I was struck at how they recreated the classroom in particular. They recreated the posters on the wall, like the United States map, the picture of the vase with the flowers, even like the frog dissection thing, and the placement of the teacher's desk with the side desk. It just, and the potted plant, it matched up with what you saw in Midwich when you were playing Silent Hill 1, which I thought was really cool. And then, of course, her bedroom in Silent Hill 3, we got more textures. I thought it kind of blew me away that they even thought to do that for
that
fans.
Was one of my favorite parts too, because I mean, like you said, they really paid attention to detail, and for players of the first game, I think that's where, obviously having played the first game, it's a callback to that, and it would have a bigger impact on players who had played the first one. And it really felt like you were kind of coming home, and you wouldn't really have that impact if it was just playing Silent Hill 3 just by itself.
What did you guys think of them using Silent Hill 3 kind of as an opportunity to expand more on the beliefs of the cult? Were you disappointed that they went into that much detail with the texts and stuff that you can read around the church, or did you appreciate it? Oh yes, in the hospital room too. Thank you, Amy. Yeah, I did appreciate that in the hospital room, Alessa, you got to see a more updated little painting on the wall instead of a gray splotch. Now she got to see someone being beheaded. It's very weird, but yeah.
I loved all the order stuff. I can't remember, was it Devin Shotsky? I want to say he was one of the people that hated all the cult stuff and hated all the order stuff, and I loved it. I thought that it was a great part of the first game, and a lot of those threads they never quite picked up, like the drug racket and some of the internal town stuff that was going on.
I am a little sad they didn't talk about the drug stuff really much at all in Silent Hill 3.
They've never really brought that part back. But overall, I love the cult stuff. I like that's kind of what kicks this game off, where the cult is still going and they're fueled by this revenge. Like 17 years later, they're still looking for this guy, and they send like this giant monster after him. Like they're still going somewhat strong enough to summon monsters and go outside of Silent Hill to do it.
It kind of shows that even though like we saw a few members of the cult in the first game, that wasn't all of them. I mean, there was a lot more people, and not like people didn't die in Silent Hill. It was just these few people who got trapped in this nightmare world, and I felt that Silent Hill 3 kind of made you realize that the cult was bigger than what you thought before. It's really ingrained into the town, and it's still going strong enough where they can enact, like you said, a revenge plot for something that happened so many years before.
And you have new characters like Claudia and Leonard who have a direct connection to the order of the first game, and they're important members of the cult. And I guess Vincent's a newer member. But I like that they still have that connection, so they're not just brand new like cult members that are trying to do this. They have a stake. Like Claudia, in lots of ways, seems like a surrogate Dahlia. Like that's her function in this game. She's the religious zealot the same way Dahlia was, and she's just trying to complete that vision. So in many ways, you have Heather and Harry are analogous, and Claudia and Dahlia play the same part in the third game as well.
Well, but also Dahlia, I also kind of questioned at times that she was really as into bringing forth God as more as she had more of Vincent's motivation, where she was more about gaining power and money through God. Yeah, she believed it, but it felt like to me, replaying 1, that she was more about what she could get out of it, using God's power to further her own place in society and money and whatnot. Like, I see Claudia, she is like a true believer. She's like all in. Like, she's willing to burn in hell to make paradise happen. And she even says at the end, like,
she's willing to eat fetuses.
Yeah, she's willing to swallow a fetus. But before that, she even states, like, she doesn't expect herself. She's sinned too much. She will not be granted into paradise, but she feels that human suffering is just too much, that she needs to do something about it, and she's going to bring forth God, because that was a childhood wish, I guess, between her and Alyssa. She unfortunately didn't know that Alyssa changed her mind, but...
No, I don't expect to be saved. And that's fine. Pain that I've caused you, I deserve no mercy. Even if it was to save mankind, it was too deep a sin. It was hubris for me to try to hasten the day of her arrival. Sacrifices were made. Those are my sins.
You kind of, yes, she's crazy, but you can see where Claudia's coming from.
Well, she's almost like she's got like a puritanical kind of a streak where she's like so much of a zealot, where, yeah, like you said, she'll do anything. I never got the impression that Dahlia was. I think Dahlia was doing it for power as well, but I mean, she was the one actively doing this stuff. I could see maybe if it were just the power thing, she'd be more like a Kaufman kind of a character, kind of a little bit more in the background, but she's at, front and center doing a lot of that stuff. So maybe it could be a combination where she believes it, but as a result, she knows she's going to get rewarded. So then maybe that motivates her to actually do it herself.
And unlike Dahlia, I think Claudia is a more sympathetic villain. Yes, she commits some atrocities to get for the ends justifying the means, but I did joke about going to Brookhaven, how it was like just game filler, but you do learn more about Claudia's, I guess, home life and stuff. You learn that Leonard was the zealot, and he basically beat Claudia into being this into religion as he was. Like, she was kind of forced into this path through her father and his treatment, where she only found relief by being this into the religion. because Leonard is crazy or whatever.
You hated your father, didn't you? I saw the way he hit you, and kicked you, and made you cry. The memory of his cruelty is forever burned into my mind.
Yes, and that's why we need God.
What you call faith is nothing more than a child crying out for love. That's why you're all alone.
You don't understand. None of you do.
But she ended up getting kind of pushed over the edge in the years following. So you kind of feel bad for her, especially when you're in the church and you find her room and you find the birthday card that she got from Alessa and she kept it all these years, and her little diary where she talks about reading about the plight of the refugees and whatnot in the world, and how over the years she just got more depressed and angry about humanity, how they're treating each other, and she saw God's birth as a way to reset the slate, like just wipe it clean and start over, like get rid of all the filth in the world and start over with paradise.
She goes back to Santa Sangre a lot too, like the plot of that.
I'll have to check that movie out. When was it released?
1989.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'll have to, was this movie, it was mentioned in Lost Memories? Or?
Yeah, they mentioned Jodorowsky, and then they talk about several of the movies, and I know that at some point they directly said that Claudia is based off of lady, which is the mother of...
I've seen the Holy Mountain, and I want to see El Topo, but that one looks good too.
Oh, and I guess speaking of Lost Memories, what's interesting with this game is they put out another DVD. They had the Art of Silent Hill after Silent Hill 2's release, with music and artwork from little music videos from Silent Hill 2 and 1. And then Silent Hill 3, they put out another one with additional music videos and artwork and all that kind of good stuff. But they also had this section of the Japanese guide. It was called Lost Memories, where the developers went in and kind of just talked about the meanings of different parts of Silent Hill 3 and like Silent Hill 1 and 2. So, for example, they talked about one of the things about the censorship of the demon kids in Silent Hill 1. They kind of went and explained about what happened with those guys. So why North America got them and Japan and Europe didn't, or the meaning behind the names or the creatures. Some of what they look to for making the theology, I guess, of the series. Oh, whoa. What is that a picture of?
I'm muted. That's a picture of, in the Holy Mountain, there is she has sort of this device, and then these ovals are a mechanical vagina, but that has a lot to do with, supposedly, it has to do with the oval-shaped openings that are sort of the birth imagery in Silent Hill 3.
Oh, from the chapel. Oh, speaking of which, the inner chapel is apparently the setup is based on British Parliament. I don't think they have a hole in the middle, though.
And then the map for the one church was drawn by one of the developers, the children of one of a developer's friend, right?
Mm-hmm.
Crayon map.
Yeah, apparently the kid drew Paris, France. But it was so cute. It's like there's like a little buddy I think that's probably my favorite map of the series, just because how
Well, and I
cute
like
it
that
is.
it didn't look, because a lot of times when they try to like manufacture that, like if you have a graphic designer or somebody
Mhm.
that is trying to do something like that, they can't ever get it to look as authentic as the real thing, because you can literally see like the crayon texture and like the wrinkled paper. And I love that it just feels more tactile.
Oh wow, I can see. So Amy just posted another comparison image between.
That one's Santa Sangre. The above one is.
Okay. Of incubator versus the screenshot from the movie and the robe and stuff. I can see it.
Whitney, if you think David Lynch is trippy, Jodorowsky might be right up your alley.
I don't know. Will I have to fast forward because it's boring?
Well, see if you can get through it one time and understand anything, and then you can go from there. They're great, though. I mean, they're very surrealist, and I think a lot of times people will make weird stuff just to be weird. But in his movies, a lot of that, it's really weird and it's really abstract, but there's a meaning behind it. It's just not always very clear.
So, looking back on Silent Hill 3, what were your feelings when you played it? Were you disappointed after finishing? I remember on forums in the time, a lot of people were disappointed because it wasn't like Silent Hill 2, and the fan consensus was the cult sucked for some reason. I didn't think it sucked, but that seems to be something I see even now, that people are going, oh, the cult story is boring. Well, how did you guys feel after
I didn't think
playing
the cult
it?
sucked. I liked it.
You liked it?
In that game, anyway.
Yeah, I thought it was a good way to continue referencing what they've done and repercussions of that without feeling like here's a fan service story.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was also a deeply personal story. Like it was just about these specific characters who were all around Alessa and her, I guess, her legacy, whatever you want to call it. So it didn't feel like it was them trying to make the cult a more prominent thing that still resides in the town, more like the leftovers.
It's just like kind of filling in the gaps. Maybe.
Yeah, it felt more
Whereas
like an
Homecoming-
extension than bringing in something brand new.
Yeah.
Oh, I totally forgot to say this. Did you guys know that we were supposed to hear after God, I think, was killed? You were supposed to hear like a newborn baby's wail at the end of the game, and that's kind of why you see Heather turn to the camera and give like this look, like what the hell?
Oh yeah, that was in the trailer too, right?
Mm-hmm. So the sound was removed from the game, but Masahiro Ito confirmed the baby is part of canon. So they were trying to imply that God, even though it was killed, was transferred into a new host. Who knows where that host is? So it's not over. Like, I guess you cannot kill the town's god. It will always find a way. It's unknown who the baby is. So I don't know.
I'll tell you.
Who is it?
It is Josh from Homecoming.
Is that before or after his Dragon Ball fight with
This is before.
with Alessa?
Is that why they're battling it out over Toluca Lake?
Yep.
I'm the real vessel of God. No, I'm the real vessel.
His Aglaphidus is over 9,000.
Something else here I wanted to bring up. Oh, the endings. Okay, so Silent Hill 3, you have 3 main endings, but there's a special 4th ending that I also want to talk about. So there's a good ending where you defeat God, you pretend you want to kill Douglas, and blondes have more fun, teehee. The bad ending is you do kill Douglas, and it's like Heather's possessed or something. It's called the possess ending, I believe. I never got it myself. I believe you have to go out of your way to get this. So let me read here. It says Heather's standing still in the Otherworld amusement park, and Douglas is lying before her, stabbed to death. Heather is holding a knife in her hand soaked with blood. This may allude to Claudia's prophecy, which said that Heather would lead believers to paradise with bloodstained hands. Oh, let's tie in there. To get the possessed ending, the player must have already finished the game at least once, so I guess that's probably why I didn't get it. So, you cannot get the bad ending your first time through, with Heather accumulating a certain number of points throughout the second attempt. Points are accumulated through killing creatures, 10 points each, taking damage, and forgiving the confessor. You must accumulate 4,000 points to receive this ending. Have any of you guys gone out of your way to get the possessed ending?
I can't remember if I got that one just to see it, maybe. I know I got the regular one, like where Douglas is alive and she gets away, and then there's that last shot of, it's like a still image of her, like praying at Harry's grave with that big kind of sunset kind of cover. I really like the ending. I love the game as a whole. I posted one of the print ads from the magazines, and I think it perfectly summed it up. Every now and again, like, the ad really nails it. And at the top it says, everything you never wanted to see. And then below that it says, don't bother closing your eyes because what you see isn't half as disturbing as what you don't. And for me, not only does that summarize the Silent Hill series in general, but this game in particular, because there were certain parts. I remember, obviously the mirror part with the double mirror and the blood, that's great. I remember the Borley haunted mansion where the corpse drops down from the ceiling. That got me. Because your focus is on the guy in the chair and this corpse pops out. But I remember there was a part later on in the game where the church is doing that weird, like, Vaseline, blurry effect on the walls and everything. And I remember playing that, and it was like a living nightmare. Like,
you're like, I can't see the doors. Where's the door? I want to get out of here.
It was literally like playing a nightmare. Like, some of those nightmares, you have just enough agency and control over to realize you're in it, but you still don't have that much power over it. And I just remember, like, I know you guys aren't, or Whitney at least, you're not really scared by these kinds of games, but that's kind of the reason I play them, is because they do have that effect on me, and I like it. I like seeing, testing how far I can go. But I remember that part
too. You just sort of panic because you can't see the doors and there's monsters.
Yeah, like it's a real, because the monsters are blurry too, aren't they? And like it's this anxiety, but then also the industrial sound and that whirring. I can't remember what it's supposed to be, but like when Valtail comes,
the turning the valve and stuff.
Yeah, and just all that, I just thought that was really effective. So I think I just got the regular ending first, and I like that.
Well, according to this, everybody got the regular ending first.
Right, and I can't remember if I actually went back. I know I've seen it, but I can't remember if I've actually gone back and played the alternate one.
And,
I'm sure I went back and played all of them, though.
And the third ending is the Ufo Revenge Ending, which the game ends when you open up your apartment, and then it's the end of the game. You see an alien, Harry and James, and they decide to get revenge on Silent Hill by destroying it in their UFO, and then you get the Silent Hills song.
One of the best things ever in the series.
Yes.
Yo, shake it. Shake it, shake it. Yo. As I run here alone, I'm in the down.じゃあまずはクローディアの歌ね。みんなは歌わなくていいよ。クローディア、クローディア、本当は優しいおばさんだ。お菓子とか買ってくれるし、落としてまくれるし。だけどね、怒ると怖い。
It's like Mars Attacks, like the continuation of the UFO ending from, I guess, 2, right? And then
yes.
There's this whole, like, it's almost like a game show, like, theme song. It's so weird, but it's so much fun.
Yeah, it's like very happy, but
yeah, how do you top the dog ending? Oh, okay.
I think it talks about, like, Heather being a single mother and some weird stuff. It's in Japanese, but yeah. So to get that one, you have to kill at least 30 monsters with the Heather beam or sexy beam before entering Harry's apartment. And also when entering Harry's apartment, Heather must not have any weapon equipped. So, okay. But there is a fourth ending. It's not like a real ending, but it's considered to be the fourth ending. And that's when your that moment between taking Vincent dies and you're taking the Igleophotis. You have that like a minute or two. So instead of taking the pill to eject God, you can just try to attack Claudia and Godsborn from Heather. She wastes too much time. So that's kind of like a fourth ending there.
I don't remember if it's clear or not, if it's like a game over or is this a fourth ending, you know?
Let's see, hold on. I think there was something here.
I did like the game overs in this, the cool, like the alternate ones with Valtiel dragging you away.
Yeah, those are great.
Those were awesome.
Okay, so yeah, according to Book of Lost Memories, there's a fourth ending referred to as a phantom ending, in which Heather attempts to kill Claudia Wolf before she uses the Gleophotis. The creators stated, it's not game over and can be interpreted as another conclusion to the story. But you do get a game over screen, so it is game over.
It's game over for somebody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So those are the endings. I do like the UFO ending. I think it's very amusing.
Is it better than the dog ending for you?
No, dog ending is top tier there. It's hard to beat that one. What did you guys think about like the new gods that were kind of introduced into the lore? Did you appreciate that, or did you feel that it was kind of confusing? Like it wasn't just the one god; there was these other gods too. Like we had Valtiel watching over Heather, and he's just chilling in the background, turning his valves and strangling nurses. I mean, what did you feel?
I think
about
it worked.
That? Mm-hmm. I liked him. He was just creepy, just being in the background. When I first played it, I didn't notice him that often, but replaying it now, kind of knowing to like look out for him in the background, it's interesting how often he pops up and he's just chilling in the back.
Yeah, I think that he was kind of the culmination of Masahiro Ito's style. Unlike like Red Pyramid, who was like openly hostile and very clearly meant as an antagonist to James, Valtiel kind of he lurks in the shadows, like you said. He's working the valves, and even though you can sort of theorize what he's doing. His motivations are still unclear. Like, is he good? Is he bad? Is he benevolent, or is he serving like a malevolent force?
Well, he's serving to ensure God's born. Like, he's a servant. You see him covering God's head in the end. So he's just there to kind of watch over Heather. As soon as it was, I guess, God awoke within her after seeing Claudia, Valtiel popped out and has been watching over her through her progress. I guess maybe to protect her. That's why he's dragging her away when she gets attacked, I believe. Or am I... Could be.
Yeah, like, what is that dependent on? Is it just where you are or how you die?
I think it's random. Because it doesn't always happen. But I'd have to look into it because I don't know for sure. You know what? Let me check the wiki. It might say.
I just always thought it was cool because even though he's serving God, like, he's sort of a servant, so he doesn't necessarily have a motivation of his own per se. Like, he's just, doing this in service of the God. So he never felt like Pyramid Head always seemed like he was, kind of a bad guy, even though more is revealed on that later. But I always liked that Valtiel was just kind of this guy in the background doing his own thing.
So Valtiel exists as one who is close to God, and Pyramid Head takes the shape of Valtiel's reason for existence. That's to say, the Pyramid Head character was born from the townspeople's idolatrous ideologies. In the first game, the ceremonial robes were an homage to Valtiel. I don't really
But
get
Valtiel
that.
was not the main god that they worshipped.
No.
Right?
So, let's see.
Unlike the second movie.
Oh, man.
I was like, ooh, we get to see Valtiel, and I was like,
a statue.
It's a statue.
And he was supposed to be the god, right? Like, that was the...
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, somebody understood that game.
Blocked that one out of my memory.
There were a lot of references to Silent Hill 3 within the game, but kind of, I guess, wrong. Like, you had like the red shoe, you had Jack's Inn, like little things that were cool to
Seal
see
the
on
Metatron.
screen.
Like they got halfway there and then they didn't do anything with it, or they went the wrong way with it.
Yeah.
I loved all the God stuff. I think just like with a lot of the stuff in the game, it's an elaboration. The order, you just get more detail into that. They talked about the one God in Silent Hill 1, but they don't say that there isn't anything else. So I loved all the paintings in the church with like the female god and the red robes and that that kind of timeline of the religion.
We see Jennifer Carroll too, who was only a statue in Silent Hill 2, who was a martyr. She died for their religion, so you got more about her too. That was neat.
What is the painting where Heather has to burn? She has to burn the painting to get through it.
Fire purifies all.
Yeah, and that was the painting. There was somebody being burned alive in the painting as well, right? Yeah.
That was in Hilltop Center. That was really cool. I hear here, although Vatiel disappears after the final battle, developer Masahiro Ito has stated that he may be responsible for Heather's return to the real world at the end of the game due to his ability to shift the worlds. Which is kind of neat, I guess. And in Cage of Cradle, he apparently kills Lisa. But I can't confirm that because that's like lost media at this point. I don't know why they never printed it as a book. But yeah, I really like Vatiel. He's just kind of a dude who's there. I mean, he's not very threatening, but he does odd things. Like
really cool.
Seeing him strangle the nurse in the church was kind of weird. Like, oh, what's he doing? But speaking, I guess, of the creatures, what did you guys feel about the creature designs in the game? Did you feel that they were cool or kind of generic? Because we had like a rehashing of, we had dogs, we had split heads, wrapped in bandages. I thought that the pendulums
were giant phallus.
You had the numb bodies that looked like phallic creatures and or fetuses walking around.
I like the birth theme going through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this game
was
very heavy with its pregnancy and birthing symbology, like throughout, even like in the levels. I think what really got me mostly with this game was how visceral like the levels were. Like at times with the pulsating walls and stuff, it was like we were actually in like a uterus or something. It was
very aggressive in this game.
Very heavy-handed, you know? We kind of had this also with Silent Hill 4 with the whole umbilical cord references throughout the levels, like the like in the subway and stuff, we had these big umbilical cords like going through the walls and the floors and whatnot, and they had pulsating kind of walls in there too. But I kind of realized, I didn't really realize this until I was listening to another podcast, Zero Brightness. They were talking about Silent Hill 3, and one of the hosts brought up how a lot of the imagery fans bring up about Silent Hill is often really from Silent Hill 3. Like the rust, the blood, the grating. I mean, we had grating and rust and stuff in the first game, but Silent Hill 3, I think, really drove it home. Like, Silent Hill is about this rusty, bloody, gross, otherworld type stuff. Would you guys agree with that? That like, Silent Hill 3 really cemented the otherworld kind of look as being this bloody, rusty place? Or do you think that was something that was always there beforehand?
I always thought that was established in the first game. When I think of like the rust-filled world, I think of the first game, the one that introduced it. It's better rendered in the third game, so you get to see it in greater detail. But again, it's just an extension of that design aesthetic they had in the first one. I love that, you're able to see in greater detail the rust, and I love the sewer parts where you see like the little particles going down the water, and I remember playing that with my friend, and he's like, "Is it like on a loop?" We watched it for a couple seconds. I was like, "Nope, that's different every time."
Again,
it was a great looking PS2 game.
There's a lot of little details in the environments you can just spend your time just staring at. One of my absolute favorites is when we come across the wheelchair and the light. That's the Session 9 poster.
Yeah, with the bullets, all the bullets.
No, that's the wheelchair. That's where you get the submachine gun.
Okay.
This is in Hilltop Center, 3rd floor, where there's a pane of glass in the hallway, and you can just see this wheelchair and this yellow glow light just hitting it.
Oh, yeah. You can't ever go to that area either. You just see it through the glass, right? Yeah.
And it's just there. It's like, what is
Which
this
is
doing
a total
here?
ripoff of the cover for Session 9. There's a shot in the movie, and the cover is the same.
Yeah.
I remember at the time, I was like, that's the coolest thing I ever saw. And then Session 9 comes out, and I'm like, oh man. Silent Hill 3 ripped off Session 9.
And also,
I think it's like right in the opening credits or something. Or close to it.
I've never seen Session 9. I need to sit down and watch it.
It's not bad. But yeah, it's clearly a reference to that. But it's like, well, you gotta rip it off.
The subway also like a complete ripoff from Jacob's Ladder?
Jacob's Ladder.
Bergen Street and stuff like that? Wasn't...
Joe said it was he based it on the Ginza station in Japan, but it was very based on Jacob's Ladder too. Like even the names of
the streets.
Bergen Street was that one that was in?
Yeah, that was the one that she had the line she had to get to was Bergen Street. And also speaking of the subway station, I kind of really liked the little part where if you read the newspaper about the guy being pushed onto the tracks, like the angry ghost will push Heather as well. I thought that was a neat little, a lot of neat little things like that within the levels. Like
and then it happens to you, and you're like, wait, what? And you hear the train coming, and you're like, I got to get out of here. But it happens real quickly. You never see who pushes her.
Oh no, it's like because the little article she reads about the person being pushed, and then she finds that magazine article talking about angry like poltergeists or ghosts, whatever, not realizing they're dead and like taking revenge. So you kind of put two and two together, and like, oh, okay, it's the person who was pushed is now pushing others. I also really enjoyed, what was the other? Sorry, I'm having a mental block. There was something else I wanted to discuss in terms of the little scenes. We did the subway. What is, okay. Duh. The creature in the sewer and the sewer fairy and stuff. How did you guys like that, where you killed it with the hairdryer and stuff? But that was such a neat little, I think, moment, seeing that kind of a blood-filled room where you read about these workers who got killed by some weird creature. It was really creepy. How did you guys feel about that creature in the water? Like, did you die the first time you tried to get by him?
I don't remember anymore.
Yeah, I don't remember what happened the first time, but I do like the idea of it as a puzzle. It just seems a little bit more active than finding something for a locked door or something like that.
Yeah.
You have to actually bypass a creature in a different way.
And what about the sewer fairy? What did you guys think of that when you came across it? Did you
That was very Japanese.
Did you find it on your own, or was it something you found looking at a guide or online?
I know I did it. I can't remember. Yeah, I can't remember first time if I figured it out or not.
I believe
we cheated.
I believe I knew from the strategy guide. But it's like odd things like that. Like, really makes this game kind of stick out to me in terms of the series. Like, it's pretty fun to replay just to experience these little moments. The mirror room, the mannequins, the weird noises you can hear. Seeing, for example, in the sewers, when you're going across little bridges and you see the water going underneath, you can kind of sometimes catch, like randomly, like slurpers walking through the water, which is so neat in my opinion. There's little details like that, I think, that makes this game stand out compared to the other series. Because even like Silent Hill 2, I mean, it was very detailed, but there wasn't a lot of stuff going around in the background. You just sort of had little kind of neat little textures and stuff to look at, but it's
all the dead bodies, like the ones that were based on the hanging bodies in Silent Hill 1, and they're like around in the amusement park around Borley Haunted Mansion, and they're around
the ones in the ceremonial robes. It's a good connection to 1.
I like the background, like the pictures of mouths and what else was it? Ears. And even though they obscured this in the final versions, except for PC, which is bugged or unfinished, the stuff that Valtiel's doing behind like glass and walls is just very strange.
You can catch him though doing some stuff even in the PS2 version, like in the church. If you're looking through the glass, you can see him. He has like a nurse by the neck, and looks like he's lifting weights, like trying to work out his arms. And other times he's like crawling back and forth along this little tunnel in the background. You don't see the what's her name, Furku lady that we see in the music video. Am I saying her name right? I don't think I am.
Kuru, yeah.
Furuko?
Yeah. The nurse, that's in bondage and stuff, and sitting on top of some sort of weird creature, and I think Valtiel is like above her. I know she's somewhere in the game, but you don't really see her properly. I think you have to do like a camera hack to view it.
And the whole time his head's doing that weird bobbing thing, and his arms and his shoulders are.
He's always
like he's in it.
Moving.
Yeah, he's in a different reality, and that carries over to the amusement park horses on the merry-go-round when you see the memory of Alessa, and their heads are bobbing. That's actually in that opening the opening cutscene to the game, like the title, kind of the prologue, and that
sort of brings to mind also. Ladder. Yeah, also Jacob's Ladder, as well as some stuff in David Lynch films.
Yeah.
Man, like the mother's heads going back and forth, and there's a couple others.
What about? I think one of my favorite little bits has to be the Borley Mansion section.
Welcome to the Borley Haunted Mansion. We're so glad you came. Please come inside and look around. When you feel you're ready, then go through the door.
Oh my god.
Was that one of your guys' favorites? You're going through this cheesy kind of like a haunted mansion, Disneyland style thing, but then it just gets really kind of gruesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I was playing it, I had this whole deal set up. I was like, okay, I don't want to speed through the game, so I'm going to try and space it out. So I made this rule up. I was like, all right, I'll do 2 levels, 2 areas a night. So I was like, so I don't speed through the game. But really what I was doing was I was limiting my scare time. so I didn't want to play too much and totally freak myself out.
Yeah.
So I remember one time I think I played the amusement park, and there was some transitional area that wasn't very, very small. But I was like, oh, done. That counts. But when I got to the Borley Mansion, I was like, oh shit. Like I knew exactly what it was. It was like a spooky haunted mansion. And in any other game, that'd be one thing. But I'm like, this is Silent Hill though. The regular places like hospitals and schools are terrible. What are they going to do with this? So I remember one night I stopped there because I was not prepared to go in that mansion. But then you go in and it's, like you said, it's corny. There's all this prop stuff laying around, and you have this like Vincent Price knockoff narrator as you're going through this stuff. But you get like a little ways in, and like an alternate entrance appears. Like you can't go a certain way, right? So you veer off on this detour.
That was supposed to be the exit. But it seems that no one wants you to leave. Everyone really likes you. They want you to stay with them forever. I have to agree with them. Don't be afraid. Dying is much easier than living.
And then you get the red light stuff, and then as you're running, the geometry flips where you're on the ceiling now. And you have to outrun this like red mist. It got really out there really quickly, and it's only a very small section.
It's like super. I mean, I was surprised at how short it was. For some reason, in my mind, it was a little bit longer, but it is very, you can just like rush right through it.
Yeah.
What do you guys think that red light is exactly? What do you think that represents? Is that maybe like Heather trying to outrun her destiny of birthing the god or something? Like, what could that mean? Did any of the developers ever reveal what that light was supposed to be a reference to?
I don't know that I ever really read into it that much. It was just like kind of this abstract like thing that was trying to get her. I don't know that it related to the main story or not, but I liked that it was just a light. It wasn't an enemy. It wasn't a shape. It was just this light that killed you. And you don't see her like being punctured or anything. It just overtakes you, and then she just dies and falls over.
Yeah. Yeah, I really liked Marley's Haunted Mansion, and you know, it's funny. I really, really, really enjoyed the hilltop center part. You know, right before you go to the apartment, where you're in this. It's like an office space, but there's several different shops and whatnot that you can go through, and you go through kind of a normal level, and then it devolves into the other world. And what's really kind of cool about this area is, there's several rooms where you just walk in and you can get overwhelmed by creatures. Like they're trap rooms. It's like the developers decided to play kind of dirty and be like, you want to explore, but then opening a door could lead you to getting trapped in a room full of these monsters in the dark, and you have to fight your way to get back to the door. One section I can remember especially is in the dance studio, when you walk in and you open up the door to the actual practice area with the mirrors, and it's just, there's monsters in there and they all start attacking you.
There are insane cancers there, but yeah, it adds to the anxiety of what's behind this door.
And I remember I went, insane cancer. I remember I went through the window to lead up to the office building, and then I'm like, oh, I think I forgot to pick up something. And then I climbed back through the window, and there was a fucking insane cancer there. I was like, ah! I did not expect him to be there. It's like little tricks like that they throw in just to mess with the players. Like, you think it's safe, but then you turn back to go back to where you were, and you're attacked again. And I thought that was kind of interesting. What did you guys feel, speaking about the office space, what do you guys think about the whole fairy tale with the creature guarding the door? That whole little side plot. Like, did you just think it was bizarre, or do you think the puzzle was kind of silly, that all you had to do was say a certain phrase? How did you feel about that? Because I
underscores like the magic stuff. I think I liked it, how it works. Magic words and things.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets a callback in a way to that, the little fairy tale that Harry reads at the beginning of the school section, in the first game, where there's that monster and you have to do the arrow or shoot the thing in the mouth. So and then later on you have in the it's the amusement park, right, where you have all like the Wizard of Oz. You have the fairy tale stories that you have to use the clues.
Yes, Snow White and Cinderella.
Yeah, so there's all these kind of fairy tale themes that run through this game, and I think that's just one of them. Like the fairy tale with the golden pipe, and it's just, you're not quite sure where it fits in, but it adds to this, all these fairy stories. Because I guess you could relate it to little Alessa was a child, and now Heather's grown up, but there's still this like fairy tale connection that's in their lives.
I was gonna say there's some kind of childlike aspect.
Oh, definitely. I think this game, it does a lot with all these different sort of themes coming through, where every area you go to, it kind of connects, I think, to the ending theme in the church. Like going through the office building, like you said, you have the connection to magic. Going through the amusement park, you're getting kind of a little bit of a backstory about Harry's own journey, because that's when you start getting his notepads from.
So I love how it sort of echoes Nowhere in Silent Hill 1. How like reality's sort of breaking down, and it has all these places from other places, and I just love that about the chapel.
Yeah, I loved reading Harry's little notes too. Like, you always kind of wondered when you were playing Silent Hill 1, what was Harry writing on the notepad to help other people out in the future? And he
I loved
did.
all that stuff.
He got to help Heather. Stepping back from the environments, what are your guys' thoughts and theories on like Vincent or any of the other characters? Like, we don't learn a lot about Vincent. You got a little bit of a backstory with him in the church by listening to the tape, where he was not on the up and up. I got the feeling that he wanted to use Heather to get rid of Claudia so he can continue on with getting rid of this zealot who was going to ruin his time making money. And I always got the feeling that after Heather killed Claudia, he was going to turn around and kill Heather. Did you guys get that feeling from him? He was not trustworthy.
No. I like that it was open-ended anyway.
I think
it makes you wonder about him.
Mm-hmm. What were you going to say, CJ?
I think he would have just used her, not necessarily hurt her or kill her, maybe just disregard her safety after he got what he wanted. But I don't think he was a violent person. I mean, all this time he could have, done something to Claudia to stop her. But he's like, kill her. He's like, you've known her for how long and you haven't tried anything? So yeah, I don't think he's
a teenage girl to do it instead of himself.
Exactly,
he doesn't want to get his hands dirty. But I always got kind of the feeling he was gonna turn on Heather, because right before you meet him, it's in Hilltop Center. You go through the mental health clinic, and in the reception area, there's a picture of Heather that I assume maybe Douglas took, and you flip it over, and it says, "Holy One, kill her." And I thought that was supposed to be like Vincent's thinking, like, okay, they found the Holy One. Should he kill her to maybe stop Claudia's plans? Or maybe was he thinking about just killing her when he used her to kill Claudia? We never really got one way or the other what his like real motivations were. I remember in the cutscene meeting him on the wall, some of the graffiti, I could have sworn I saw the word like friend. Like, I don't know if there's kind of subtly like trying to get you to trust this guy or whatever, but he's untrustworthy.
Lazy eye.
Yeah.
I just remember, besides Harry's death, which literally made my jaw drop open, the other moment in the game is when Vincent has the famous spoken line to Heather.
You come here and enjoy spilling their blood and listening to them cry out. You feel excited when you step on them and snuff out their lives.
Are you talking about the monsters?
Monsters? They look like monsters to you?
Oh no.
Don't worry. It's just a joke.
They look like monsters to you?
Oh yes, I mentioned that in the opening of the
And
podcast.
they don't really go that far with it.
They never. It's just a joke.
Silent Hill 2 kind of, it implies that as well, or it can imply that. But I just thought, just the idea that opened up, just the thought that, like, because Vincent, I don't think he's lying in that moment. I think whatever he's seeing or what he believes, he's being honest with Heather. He's being like an ass about it. He's like kind of making fun of her.
Like he's
and
not
using
seeing
it as
what
kind of like a
Heather's
power.
saying. Yeah.
Exactly.
Lying,
and
though,
I
in
just,
any case, yeah.
Yeah, I love that idea that in some reality, some version of this game or this story, that she could not be fighting monsters at all. And that one little line and then his reaction to it completely blew me away.
And what kind of connects to the whole maybe there being people was how Heather saw the missionary creature, the one that killed Harry. He looked like a creature. So didn't Leonard. Like, if
Right.
they can look this monstrous, could Heather all this time be killing, I don't know, order members, or I don't know.
And then, I mean, the deeper you dig into that, it's like, well, why doesn't she see everybody like that? Why does Vincent or why does Claudia not look like that to her? But that there could be a specific reason for that. I love that Vincent just brings up this alternative.
I like how just this like single line made everyone second guess everything they've been doing in all the past games. Like, oh
Yeah.
shit, you know, mind blown. And the creators never are never willing to answer. They're just like, we're just gonna leave it up.
I love
It's
because
like the
because
second
if
draw drop moment, yeah.
if they did either way, then it would be less of a game, or it would be less of a story either way. If they are if they are monsters or if they're not. Like, one of the greatest things about Silent Hill is that for all the questions it asks, it answers very few of them. And we've discussed this before. That's probably one of the reasons it still endures. The enduring appeal of Silent Hill is all those unanswered questions. That's one of the reasons we're still talking about it today.
Oh, definitely. What's kind of a shame is this. We kind of brought up this a little bit earlier about the second movie and how it kind of twisted some of the main characters in this game. Like in Revelation, Vincent's now a love interest, and now Claudius's mom. It's just Batiel is now the god. It's just things like that. It's odd that they made those choices.
For all the terrible stuff that the movie did, I honestly, like, I saw it when it came out, and that was the year that they had the Halloween Horror Nights in Universal Studios Orlando with the Silent Hill ride, which wasn't as great as I thought it would be. It was still fun, I guess. But
it was just like a haunted house.
Yeah, you just walk through it, and people would pop out and say boo. I think the LA one was a little better, but it's still just like a walkthrough basically.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember I saw Silent Hill Revelation the same weekend I went down there. And I thought it was all right. I think it was like as terrible as everyone says it is. It's not great, and it's certainly not a good Silent Hill movie. But I like that they were trying to fix like certain things. I think they got right. Like, Sean Bean was now Harry. Like, they made a point to kind of retcon that a little bit to where he is now actually Harry, as opposed to Rose was like the female Harry.
Yeah.
And they kind of tie Rose back a little bit to it. And I thought the actress who played Heather did a decent job with what she had, but like you said, some of the story stuff kind of got muddled, and Jon Snow is now Vincent. And
I think you're gooey fun inside, Heather.
You're kind of funny, Heather. You're pretty fucked up, but I don't know. I think you're goofy fun inside.
Goofy fun. That'd be nice for a change.
Oh, my favorite.
Fuck Facebook. That's still the best line of the movie.
Fuck Facebook.
What happened to the small talk? No, what's your favorite band? Do you Facebook? Nothing like that?
Fuck Facebook, do you?
I never think about it.
Oh, who knew it would be so relevant years later?
It's a very timely line.
Well, was there anything else you guys wanted to discuss about this? Like, what do you think about is there anything about Silent Hill with like lasting impact on the rest of the series? You got the monster line, kind of the look of the other world. What do you think it's inspired anything in later other horror games? Have you seen its influence or anything like that?
Well, Homecoming definitely expands the role of the cult and the order in a different way, I guess.
Yeah, they split off another set.
Yeah.
And they kind of did that a little bit in Silent Hill 4 with like the Holy Mother sect versus the Batial set.
Yeah, and Wish House and the connection to that. I think it's more of like the order in general, the developers doing different things with that. I always liked that Heather kind of established, it was like a breath of fresh air. She was this younger female character who wasn't quite as serious as the previous two protagonists.
And she reacted to the stuff she was seeing. Like she
exactly.
You're
she
like,
got oh, she's actually scared.
Yeah. Like
so that was cool. Yeah. I remember a little while ago, the actress who played Heather, there was an Irish journalist who was able to nail an interview with her.
Mm-hmm.
And she had been she was aware, I think, of the fan base, but she kind of wanted to, kind of remain in the shadows. I think she was living in Japan when she did the role. And then after that, I want to say she moved to New York and did like smaller acting things. But it was interesting because after that interview, like it was kind of like a one and done kind of deal, because I remember Jeremy Blaustein said that he had reached out to her because he had directed her in the game, and she was fine with giving an interview, but that she didn't want that to be her whole life. I got the impression.
Yeah.
But it was nice to it's always nice to hear from those people, because I think a lot of times, like with Michael Gwynn and other voice actors who maybe they do this earlier in their life and they move on to another job or another business, and they have no idea these games have gotten as big as they have. And so I think the actress Heather Morris, when she found out about that, like that part was cool. A lot of times these actors have little to no idea that it got so big.
Yeah, she had no idea the impact the game had over the years.
And she makes this game. You believe Heather because, you believe Heather's fear, you believe, Heather's motivations because of that performance.
Yeah, she did a great job. It was definitely an improvement on voice work in Silent Hill 2, especially like Donna Burke. She killed it as Claudia.
Yeah. Good. Well, I guess she was doing sort of a Britishy accent in the in 3, right?
Well, I thought more of like her, I guess, natural accent kind of came out. Isn't she Australian?
Yeah.
Yeah, the only one that I was a little bit about was maybe Douglas.
I remember it was a little hard to hear him sometimes because he had kind of had that deeper voice. I was like, what does he say?
It was like
had to turn up the volume.
Really rough. So how would you guys rank Silent Hill 3 in all the games? Where do you place it in your favorite?
I want to say second or third. It's hard for me to choose.
Yeah, same.
Second or third. So it's in the top tier then of
top 3.
Games. Nice. Yeah, I was surprised really, kind of looking back at like forum posts. A lot of people were disappointed in 3, very disappointing in 4, and then years since there's been a renaissance of how great both of those games are in comparison, I guess, to the more modern titles.
Remember with 4, everybody's like, what the hell is this? Not even a flashlight.
It was so completely different. I still like that when it came out. I still think, even at the time, I think it's the weakest one of the 4. But it was so different at the time, and that's what I liked about it, because I knew going into it was going to be different, so I just kept an open mind, and it turned out to be pretty good. It was weird. The story was a little different, but
I liked the story.
I still thought it was a Silent Hill game.
Yeah, I never thought it wasn't. I like the story. My only gripe really with 4 is it's really a slog to play, especially going through the levels again with
visiting them. Oh god.
And
with an escort.
And those unkillable ghosts.
With an escort, with unkillable ghosts. It kind of sucked the fun out of it.
And you got the Event Horizon ball at the end in the middle.
Yeah. I mean,
that's also from the Holy Mountain, those bodies on the wall.
Anything else you guys want to mention about Silent Hill 3? What's great about it?
I loved it then. I love it now. And I still think it's one of the best sequels ever to a game that didn't need a sequel.
Yeah. Everyone should play the game, I think.
Yeah, I just talking about it this much makes me really want to play it. I played Silent Hill 2 a bit in 4K not too long ago using the Enhanced Edition mod. So I'm excited to see if Enhanced Edition stuff will come to 3, and also just to play it in 4K. I think that game...
I think it would be beautiful to see.
Absolutely beautiful. And I'm going to say it again, get an OLED screen, because horror games look so wonderful.
Man, just imagine like all the little details you can see just in the background now. Oh, man. Because, I mean, comparing the two to 3... I think 3 has more interesting environments overall. It's what's interesting about Silent Hill 3 is how saturated, like colorful it is when comparing it to the other games. Like you got it, like in the chapel, you got that room with the green, the bright greens. You got the reds, the oranges, yellow. It just.
Well, just in that opening section in the mall where she's like going, she wakes up in that diner. You have all that orange And then when she's getting out of the bathroom window and you have like that sunset in the background with the van and everything, like right away, that's sort of more color than the series had seen like that at that
especially
point.
2 was very, very muted. A lot of grays and
Yeah,
blues.
grays.
Very washed out. And Silent Hill 3 is just like vibrant and in your face. Like the wheelchair and the light, you know? It's just like even the other world, there was a lot of color, at least with reds and whatnot. Everyone should definitely, if you've played through it and it's been a while, you should definitely replay it because the stuff you'll notice now is pretty amazing. I was really surprised at how much I enjoy just looking at the environments of this game. It's so goddamn beautiful, and it's such a testament to the work Team Silent was able to do with the limited hardware that it could still look this great nowadays in comparison.
And I also like the fact that it's mostly the same team that did the first one. You had the scenario writer Hiroyuki Owaku, who did the story for it. You have Ito, you have Yamaoka, you have a lot of the people from the first game that developed all these ideas and these characters, and it's like they're coming back to wrap that story up, as opposed to either a different Japanese team or a Western developer kind of taking stuff like Origins, which was okay for what it was, but it was somebody else doing that story. So with 3, you had the same people who did the first game making the follow-up. I think that's an important part of it too.
Yeah, and we'll get to Origins and kind of what it does to canon, but yeah, I really liked it, and I'm looking forward to hearing you guys' thoughts on Silent Hill 4. We gotta definitely.
That'll be a fun one.
Yes, we'll get into the deep theories of circumcision and stuff like that.
Snip, snip.
Go cord.
So, before we go, why don't you guys all plug your stuff?
Well, you can catch me on RelyOnHorror.com, where we do horror gaming coverage of all the video games, of scary stuff. You can find our pages everywhere, including Steam and Discord.
I guess I'm still doing some videos and stuff, but I've been sick and things have been going on, so I've been kind of slow with alchemilahospital.net, but I'm also working on another art site at internetkindness.com, which is an art and philosophy project, and also I'm programming a game about dealing with death anxiety, and my new gaming site is existentialterror.com, or is it .net or .com? Damn, I'm too new, I don't remember.
Well,
anyway,
when you remember, let me know so I could put it in the links below in the news post.
And you can catch me at RelyOnHorror.com and all the articles we post there. You can also check out my YouTube channel, Screaming Ray Productions. I have a couple of interviews and some art stuff coming up to look out for.
And myself, I'm all over the place. You can catch me at SilentHillHistoricalSociety.com. Twitter, I'm Kemi_Row. I tweet a lot about Silent Hill and Deadly Premonition. I do a lot of streams now, trying to raise money for Extra Life. So if you want to see me play through retro horror games and laugh and whatnot, you should definitely catch me. I have a new Let's Play channel, Whitney Plays. I have an in-depth Silent Hill playthrough on there. I need to start my Silent Hill 2 one, but I've gotten distracted with Deadly Premonition stuff. So yeah, that's what I got going. Everything, I think we'll mention. I'll try to put everything relevant in the news post, like I always do. But thank you everyone so much for listening, and thank you guys for joining me to gush about Silent Hill 3. I'm hoping that we'll do Silent Hill 4 quicker than we did Silent Hill 3. Things just kind of time got away from me. I got sick, and then, work was crazy. So look forward to our retrospective on Silent Hill 4 in the coming weeks. So I hope you guys have a great day, and thanks for listening. Bye.
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 Voices and Static, the podcast of the Silent Hill fan site, SilentHillHistoricalSociety.com, was recorded and edited by me, Whitney Chavis. I wanted to give thanks once again to all my guests today, and also a big shout out to Fungo. His Silent Hill media site, containing video, voice, sounds, and music clips from all the Silent Hill games, has been such a godsend over the years. and most of the game clips you heard in today's podcast was downloaded from his site over at silenthillmedia.net.